Welcome to Motorsports Reports and this week's version of the NASCAR News Zone. My name is Phil. I'm going to tell you three major stories that we're going to be discussing here on the NASCAR News Zone amongst all the articles that we have covered along with my buddy George here on Motorsports Reports this week. First will be the 5 drivers to look at for Circuit of the Americas in the NASCAR Cup Series. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s comments on Cleetus McFarland's Truck Series debut at Daytona a couple of weeks ago and his thoughts. And then Darrell Wallace Jr. getting extra points with a stage win based on a call by NASCAR officials at the end of Stage 2 of the race at Echo Park, Atlanta Motor Speedway. We will talk about all those. There will be timestamps for each particular article in the video. But for this and all motorsports content, come to us here at Motorsports Reports and also listen to me and my co-host Josh on the Grip Strip podcast. Another key discussion from the races at Daytona last week was Garrett Mitchell, aka known as Cleetus McFarland, the YouTube sensation, YouTube star, who made his Truck Series debut and wrecked 6-7 laps in a race and was able to run in the ARCA race and had to avoid a few incidents. Finished 11th in that deal. Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's had Cleetus McFarland on his show. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has also driven the Dale truck that Cleetus and his crew fixed, spoke up about the situation. Was quoted as saying Cleetus busted his blank off the corner, which I figured might happen if you watch his test at Rockingham, which I did. He busted his blank off turn 2 in a similar situation, got in the wall of his truck. They cleared him, which is fine, Earnhardt said. Is he ready to race trucks right now? No. Will he be? Could he be? Yes. If I was NASCAR, I'd be doing everything I could to get him better. He just needs to be racing more than he's doing, and he needs to get more experience and get better. Happening at Daytona could happen to anyone. Happen to me could happen to anyone. End quote. He goes further to say, I just think he needs a bigger library of experience so he can be better at the truck and go back there and really compete. I want him racing in the Truck Series. I want him racing in NASCAR. I want him bringing his followers to our sport. I want him to have success. I want him to have fun. I would say that he probably wouldn't tell us, but that probably wasn't too much fun, what happened there. So why don't we as a sport get behind the guy and surround him with the tools, get him in the sim, get him all the experience we can get him, so when he does go out there, he knows what he's getting involved in. Going further, my junior said, my feeling is he doesn't understand what's about to happen in these situations. If I was NASCAR, I wouldn't be worried about making content, making clicks, and now we can put them in front of the camera. Now we can make a YouTube video that gets 2 million views. Wouldn't worry about that blank. I would be making him a race car driver. He's got the clicks. They're coming. They're there. I just don't feel like he's as good as he needs to be able to come out there and have fun and have a respectable result. At the same time, I don't mind they cleared him. I'm not saying he shouldn't have been out there. He wasn't ready. I don't have a strict standard in terms of approval and so forth. And that's something that came to pass, not just for McFarland, but, there was the Natalie Decker situation, which we have covered here on Motorsports Reports as well. And then there's other drivers that competed during the weekend there and do compete usually at either super speedways or occasionally maybe at some other types of circuits. But I think if there's somebody who's a fan of wanting to see success, I think it's Dale Earnhardt Jr., and he's the most popular driver. He's one of the most influential people in the sport. But the point is there. McFarland spends most of his time drag racing or driving, Crown Vics on different type oval tracks. That's not driving a late model. It's not driving a truck or an ARCA car or anything like that on a short track or any of those things. However, when you have the funding, when you have the means, and you have the backing and followers, you have an ability to do stuff that other people aren't able to do. Now, and Cleetus mentioned it, he wasn't too happy, he was very disappointed was much happier after he got out of the ARCA car, and that's something that we'll see as we move forward, what he continues to do in terms of his learning and how far he's willing to go to do and be like Biff, like he mentions. The end of Stage 2 decision by NASCAR based on when the caution lights came on after Kyle Larson went across the nose of Shane Van Gisbergen and allowed Darrell Wallace Jr. to win the second stage at Echo Park Speedway, Atlanta Motor Speedway, whichever way you want to call it. Been able to lead laps in both first two races and settle for a pair of top tens. Had a chance to win both of them. Definitely had a chance late in the race on Sunday to win, but was able to benefit from getting that stage win, the extra points. He's currently second in the Cup Series standings, only behind his teammate Tyler Reddick. But Bubba was quoted as saying, "Yeah, I'm just pumped that Toyota got in victory lane. I have to go back and see. I didn't think I moved up that much to allow to put myself up top of 3. Unfortunate, but man, what a race car we had today." His co-owner, Michael Jordan, was praising Tyler Reddick, but also said he felt bad for Bubba. Tyler did an unbelievable job. Both teams did an unbelievable job, MJ said. He went further to say, "I wanted him to win. I feel bad for Bubba, obviously, because he had an unbelievable day, but Tyler drove his bleep off, and I'm happy for Tyler. Very happy for 2311. The guys worked hard all summer. We had our little ordeal, but they never gave up. They kept working hard, and this is the fruit of their labor. They put forth the effort, and for us to come out and win the first few races says a lot about our whole team. It says a lot about their team. It says how competitive they look to be in this new format. Reddick was able to get stage points in both stages, led the most laps in the race, and then Darrell Wallace Jr. got the good stage points as well. And maximizing stage points, being able to maximize your finishes is key with the chase format. There's no playoff points or any of that stuff. It's total accumulation of points. So the kind of runs that both Reddick and Wallace had on Sunday are the runs that you want to have as much as possible to give yourself a chance once you get to that final 10 races to get the as bonus points or get the best reset possible before the 10 race chase starts in late August, early September. But for the 2311 duo, for Wallace, he's starting out strong and he's close to winning, and there are tracks where he's capable of going out there and getting the job done upcoming after Circuit of the Americas, but he's even gotten better on road courses. So it's something we will see and we'll talk about here on Motorsports Reports. Amongst many changes announced for this year's All-Star race is the removal of the promoter's caution. This was used last year at North Wilkesboro Speedway during the All-Star race. That allowed the track president to decide when to throw the yellow flag at a random point in the race to bunch the field. This had in the end cost Joey Logano a chance at the victory and $1 million because Christopher Bell was able to go and pack up and gain back the time and track position that he had lost over time in the race. This year, the All-Star race will be at Dover Motor Speedway for the first time. First time it'll be in the Northeast. It'll be a 3-segment, 350-lap event. There will be no All-Star Open for the first time in the history of the event. That all the cars that are chartered vehicles will start the race. The qualifying will be a 2-lap qualifying, but will include a 4-tire pit stop. The total time combined between the 2 laps of driven around the track plus the pit stop will determine initial starting positions for the All-Star race. The first 2 stages will be 75 laps each. After the first stage, which is determined by the qualifying results, the top 26 cars will be inverted and they will go and start the second 75 based on that, the finishers that are not already locked into the race, the best finishers of that group to make up the final 9 positions as of now, but there could be different winners, additional winners that could limit the amount of people that would qualify in through the first 2 stages. The best average running position will combine results will make up the first 25, along with those locked into the race. The winners from races in 2025 and 2026, former All-Star race winners who compete full-time, and former Cup Series champions who compete full-time. Currently 17 drivers meet that criteria. So then after the first 150 laps, an additional 8 drivers will lock into the final 200 lap stage, plus a fan vote winner. Along with this, there will also be the O'Reilly Series on Saturday, Truck Series on Friday, and then additional events going on. It'll be a full weekend at Dover Downs, like it would be a regular weekend, but the difference is instead of a 400 lap cup race, it'll be the All-Star race this year. So we will see how all those changes come along and how they may affect the racing at Dover for their first ever All-Star race there. And for this and more in regards to news and in the world of motorsports, tune into Motorsports Reports and also to my podcast, the Ripshire Podcast, that I host. My name's Phil, and I host with my buddy Josh. After a contentious lawsuit that saw a lot of dirty laundry aired in regards to the France family who runs NASCAR and a lot of executives, people that were involved in the sport, it saw Steve Phelps end up having to leave the sanctioning body due to texts and chats and stuff that had come out in regards to how he spoke about certain owners. The main owner that was involved in this lawsuit against NASCAR is, of course, the great Michael Jordan, co-owner of 23XI Racing, and of course one of the greatest athletes of all time, that they were suing in regards to the monopolistic practices of NASCAR in regards to the charters and other aspects of their business dealings. The case, of course, settled in early December, and the top currently, Tyler Reddick, of course, has won the first 2 races of the year, and Darrell Wallace Jr. has won 2 stages this year. The 2 drivers are 1-2 in the current point standings. Steve O'Donnell, who's been with NASCAR for many, many years and has been involved deeply, has now become the president, and he was quoted in a Sports Business Journal article as saying, "Middle of December, I found myself in a courtroom face-to-face with Michael Jordan. At the end of the day, I think with Michael, he loves the sport. His words to me immediately after were, 'I'm all in, let's grow this thing together,'" end quote. And the way that Jordan has taken a much more expanded presence, it seems like there's more attention paid to MJ these last 2 races than even what he's had before in his years as a car owner in the Cup Series, getting interviewed, getting the presence that he has around him, the fact that he is public and he is as big as he is as a athlete and as a competitor and all these other things, and also being a NASCAR fan. So somebody who understands the sport, grew up, he's a North Carolina guy. So, and when O'Donnell went further and said it's surreal that he wins the Daytona 500. I was at Atlanta yesterday and he won back-to-back races with Tyler Reddick. He's always there. He's passionate. He's been a fan for life. He gets us to some other audiences. It's a cool thing to see for sure. And that's the main thing. I think if anything else, Michael Jordan expands the audience for NASCAR outside of the core, and there are people that can connect with his drivers and Tyler Reddick and Darrell Wallace Jr. and with everything else that goes on along with Denny Hamlin. But we'll see how 23XI and Tyler Reddick, Darrell Wallace Jr. and more do here this week at Circuit Americas, which is a track that Tyler Reddick has won at in the past. In a tale of 2 days for the legend Kyle Busch, he came off of winning his 68th career Truck Series race on Saturday in a very close finish with a great pass late to win what was a time-shortened event, albeit only 10 laps, but ended up getting the victory there. And on the flip side of that, he ended up wrecked and in the garage after 125 laps of the scheduled 260 in Sunday's Auto Trader 400 at Echo Park Speedway. He was not too pleased with how he was raced by a fellow Las Vegas native, Noah Gragson. Busch is quoted as saying, "I didn't get the best of exits off of 2 there, but when I drifted out to the wall, I was trying to get back straight, and Gragson never checked up, just ran me as hard as he could to get me back going, to get my momentum back going," Busch said. When a guy is a little out of shape, you've got to give him a second to collect it before you just ram him, or at least try to check up and push gently. But yeah, that's kids these days. In terms of it talks about this streak. His last win came in June of 23 at Gateway. And finished 15th at the Daytona 500 after starting from pole. And he was quoted on the radio after the wreck as saying, "Single car wreck, bleeping cool, see y'all later." Similar to what he told Jim Pullman at Daytona and after the final restart, when he backed off and got out of the way waiting for the carnage to happen to finish out that race and salvage a 15th place finish. As I mentioned, 68th Truck Series win on Saturday. He went and said it got dicey there at the end. Certainly a great race, and it got exciting there at the end. Had a great teammate in Carson Hocevar behind me, and I have to give credit where credit is due. Early on was a little worried he wasn't helping, but there at the end he was right there. Definitely made it a whole lot easier. And we're driving for Spire Motorsports on Saturday during the Truck Series race, driving HendrickCars.com Chevy number 7. While Hocevar drove the 77. Hocevar had damage and had said that he was not able to do anything in terms of leading, but he definitely could push, and he could do a little bit of blocking, so that's what he was able to do to help Kyle Busch. He had said that he wasn't as keen on Kyle in the past, but in this instance he was able to help him, and they worked well together. But we will see what Kyle Busch is able to do this weekend at Circuit Americas along with Carson Hocevar. This weekend, the stars of the NASCAR Cup Series will be going to Circuit of the Americas for the first road race of the 2026 Cup Series season. And with that, here are 5 drivers you need to watch going into the race at COTA. The first one would be Tyler Reddick, because he has been on fire to start the year. Won the first 2 races of the season, won the Daytona 500, of course, and then came back to win at Echo Park Speedway, Atlanta Motor Speedway, to start the season 2 for 2. In terms of Circuit of the Americas, to go and possibly be the first person ever to win 3 consecutive races to start the year, he's a former winner at this racetrack, and in 5 races at the circuit has 5 top 10s and 4 top 5s along with 2 poles, and has led 53 laps, best average finish amongst active drivers at this racetrack. So Tyler Reddick is definitely one of the people that we would say is a favorite coming in. Now I think the definite favorite and the person that everyone's going to be looking at, the only road race that Shane Van Gisbergen did not win last year in the Cup Series, was this race last year. But coming off a year, he won 5 races. He's raced here in a V8 supercar in the past. He is someone who is just absolutely unbelievable in anything that he drives. And he's had a great start to the season as well. Right now he's on the cutoff in terms of points, but it's very close and a strong weekend at Circuit of the Americas can move him up in the standings. And that's something where, I think is very possible for him to go and do that. Another driver that is on the flip side at the current point is Christopher Bell, who last year had come off of winning at Atlanta and then won at Circuit of the Americas. And he is got the 8th best average finish amongst active drivers. And he is a good road racer in general, so the fact of the matter is he's had a rough start to the year points wise, so it's something to look at for him to see what he's able to do, and right now currently 31st in points, so huge deficit, 100 points behind Tyler Reddick already after 2 races, so huge points gap, nearly 2 full race wins behind. So something that Christopher Bell wants to cut into at a track that he has won at before, of course, and has 3 top 5 finishes at. So that is someone that I would say we would have to go and look at as someone that can have a good weekend. Another driver who's down there in points with Bell is Alex Bowman of Hendrick Motorsports, the driver of the 48 car. He, amongst active drivers, it says second best, 5 top 10s, 3 top 5s, average finish of 5.2 in 5 races at Circuit of the Americas. It's a great circuit for most of Hendrick Motorsports, current drivers there, so Byron has won there before, Elliott's won there before. So for Bowman, rough start to the points for him, rough start to the season. He's going to want to get himself situated, and COTA is an opportunity for that. He's a former winner at the street course at Chicago as well. The last but not least is rookie sensation Connor Zilisch. Similar to the other 2 drivers that I mentioned in Bell and in Bowman, Zilisch is next to last amongst the drivers that have competed in both races this year. So for the rookie, the heralded rookie, probably the most heralded rookie since like Jeff Gordon, it's something that for him at a road course where he's won, he's got plenty of talent and skill. It's where he's come from. It's something where we're going to have to look and see if this is where he can re-establish himself. Randall Burnett, his crew chief, has done well there in the past as well. So put all those things together, Trackhouse Racing, Connor Zilisch, this is a get-right weekend for him to make some points up. And he was very honest in regards to the learning curve that he's going to have this year. So this is a get-right weekend for him. But we will see how that all goes for those 5 drivers, and whoever else stands out we'll talk about here on Motorsports Reports and on the Gripster podcast. So stay tuned for that.